Hey everybody, it's Thursday, and happy birthday to you. Emily's birthday.
Oh gosh. And welcome to this week's edition of The Night Bite.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Emily. And thanks for being here with us tonight.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit on Tuesday about hey Ray, about kind of what we've been doing for
Thank
fishing,
you.
but what have we been up to?
Well, actually, we did hit the Wolf River this past Sunday, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But we had our first official rainout day this past Saturday. And so that was actually kind of crazy. We have rain gear that we've been using a lot, and we've been loving that. But we did actually stay home all day Saturday. And with that, Sunday wasn't quite that beautiful either, but there was actually some bright spots in the day. And there was some fishing to be had. I think the morning this past Sunday was better than the afternoon, but there was fish.
Yeah, we
I am getting old. Thanks everyone.
we got out in the morning and we did catch a half dozen walleye and a smallmouth and I don't know, a couple other things, but it really did slow down towards the afternoon. We didn't really change our tactic that much. I guess we could have switched some stuff up, but we didn't. There was a bunch of people out. Rivers were busy, even up in the upper stretches. So that was the thing. And we got fishing opener this coming weekend. So we're going to head over to Minnesota and catch some baseball.
The opener of the season does always, mean more people on the water. It just tends to be a busier time of the season. A lot of people launching boats. So if you are going to be at the ramps and the launches, just remember to use patience. Sometimes that goes a really long way. But otherwise, I am looking forward to the warm-up that's supposed to be coming next weekend. I guess the only one part about that I don't like is I've already now, as of today, seen my first mosquito for the year. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm ready for all that warm weather, but sometimes the things that come with it will have me missing ice season.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely signs of spring where, I was out all day today. We were doing some invasive species work, and there's salamanders out and frogs out and bugs out and all kinds of stuff. So the only thing that really says to me is it's time to get the little baits out. Time for some crappies.
Well, that is true. I guess in this early part of the spring, and we're fishing the river systems, and it is a lot of walleye fishing, like pretty exclusively. But there is some great movement that is starting to happen with panfish and all that. So I guess where are we going to start?
Oh, I don't know. I think my vote is I'd like to go over and we should probably check some backwaters in the river, especially after we're going to be gone all weekend, and then it's going to be 80 degrees next week. And, but I would really like to hit a couple of lakes around the house. So, I don't know.
The name of the game this time of the year, though, is finding that warmer water. So I think wherever we end up, finding that is going to be key this time of the season. I'm hearing, all different kinds of things on the different parts of the local systems, whether it is a lake or Lake Winnebago, a big lake, or, the river. There is all different kind of stuff going on. But either way, one of the things that we do this time of the year is match the hatch. So you're talking about little baits. And that is a funny thing to be talking about right now because honestly, match the hatch means a lot of different things in this early spring. So, I had mentioned the mosquitoes coming out. That is just one of a million kinds of bugs that are coming out right now, as well as minnows are hatching and other fish are spawning and hatching and babies of everything swimming around in every way. So, I mean, I guess with that being said, how do you decide where to start for plastics and baits?
Well, so it's an odd question when you're talking about me specifically because I am going to be one of the pan fishermen that does not bed fish. That's just a personal choice. So, I know that there's fish up in the reeds and up in the shallow water, and I know they're up there, but there's also fish off that structure too. They all don't spawn at the same time. It kind of goes in little waves. And me in particular, I'm going to focus on some of the deeper staging areas outside of the beds. One that'll give me more of a chance at bigger fish, most likely, and two, um, I think that I just like to leave them do their spawn thing, because the more that they're successful at spawning, the more fish I have to catch, and that's just my thing.
But the question there was, how do you start with plastics? What plastics do you go to?
Plastics. I don't know. I try a little bit of everything. It's the same. It's the summer routine. You start out. I start out. Um, I start out with like uh some kind of minnow plastic, and then I'll either go up or down. I like to start big, so I start with something that's like in the 2.5 range, and then kind of work my way down to little bug stuff. I don't put away my ice stuff, so I keep that all out and just play the day. And I do that all summer. It doesn't really change. My whole deal all summer is pretty standard. It just depends on where the fish are and what they're eating.
Well, and I think one of the things in spring is getting the color of the plastic right. Because as long as you have either something that's kind of minnow-ish or kind of bug-ish, there's enough going on in the systems that, those fish, as long as you're catching their eye or, matching the hatch close enough with the colors that are existing, those are the things that go a really long way. Well,
what did I get you for your birthday?
Actually, something that I didn't think that I wanted, a heated vest. So, striker gear, I love it. I'm not leaving it in any way. But I just find that, honestly, what it's for is this early walleye season, because you can get through that entire ice season. And the nice thing about the bitter freezing cold temperatures is honestly, you don't have so much moisture in the air. And it's really a lot easier for me anyways to handle that cold when it is that dry kind of cold. When we are getting into this walleye season and everything is melting and water is flowing and stuff is splashing, and then there's like waves, and then you're trying to like fight them, and then there's like more splash coming over the boat, things like that. I mean, when you are battling those elements, but you have the wetness added to that cold and that wind, is when really just you need sometimes that warm up. And I've been a really big fan of hand warmers. What is it? Celestron sells. It's like a thermocell, or I can't remember it.
Celestron, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, but then it has like another name.
Firecell Plus.
Oh, Firecell. There you go. There's
well, it's the Firecell Plus.
And they are rechargeable and all of that. They're electronic hand warmers, and they actually do heat up. And they last for a really long time in my pocket, but sometimes you just wish that you had more than that. So Josh did get me the heated vest that I can then put underneath my other layers. And I do find that I like, we didn't get like a puffy vest. And because I like wearing it as a, not all the way to the bottom layer, but almost like, and that helps keep the heat in, and it's just comfortable. And so even if you're out in the wind and all that, you just turn it on, and I've been good to go.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of people checking in today. So thanks everybody for wishing me a happy birthday, because it's been a lot of fun. Check it in. I guess, I was going to say chatting. I haven't been able to chat with everybody today. But I appreciate you guys all thinking of me and being here tonight. So
yeah.
Thank you. Other things, Ray is saying, still using ice plastics. Yeah, don't put those away just because you maybe bought something for ice season or for open water season. I find sometimes just some of my open water baits, I can pinch down and use them for ice. And sometimes just for ice plastics, they just work. If it just, because again, it's back to that match that hatch. What is that bug? What is that minnow? And is it still in that system?
Mm-hmm.
Sean Cox saying he's going to switch to YouTube. You know what? The cool thing is oh yeah, you made it. Oh yeah. Yeah. You already knew. I'm like still catching up in the comments. A few weeks ago, we had like a funny glitch where it didn't connect to Facebook, and lo and behold, I guess YouTube is a very reliable place to watch us. But for people who didn't know, we are also actually on LinkedIn these days.
Oh yeah, pay all the LinkedIn peeps.
Yeah, but we also do take all of these different evenings where we talk to different people or talk to you guys here, and we put them into podcast version. My phone, do you hear my phone? It's
That's
just like
all of
going
the beeping.
crazy. Hold on 1 second. So thank you to those of you who are online saying happy birthday to me. I guess that's what that is. But you are able to watch us, from wherever you like best. And the other cool thing about that is even if you are taking road trips and stuff this summer, this is something that you can download and have a podcast version and listen to on your way.
Yep. Definitely have the audio version. And yeah, if you do have a YouTube account, just go throw subscribe up. It just helps us get this stuff out there. You don't necessarily have to watch us on the YouTube, but if you want to go give the channel a subscribe, that'd be awesome. But yeah, so what else are we talking about? You got a whole thing going on here?
I've got a whole thing going. No, but I did something that I didn't prepare Josh for until as we were going live on the show. I just decided, there was so many people who did actually reach out to me for my birthday, and I loved it. Thank you guys so much. But I decided we were going to do I don't know, goodie bags for a birthday or something, and so I can't hit up everybody, but I do actually have some cool things here. I won't take this all the way out, I guess, because it's packaged up pretty nice. And I'm going to send this to somebody. But Widowmaker, that's,
cool.
gosh, really hard to see. There we go. So these are their new cases for the year. And it is that silicone type insert. So you don't ever have your jigs that move around, wiggle around, anything like that. And along with that, we have one of these awesome lure wallets and also actually a koozie.
With a handle.
Yeah. So the cool thing about this is I'm actually going to load up a few of my favorite jigs into this kit. I just didn't do that before the show because I didn't want everyone to know all the secrets, right? But we are here to, talk a little bit about these things, I guess, tonight, but also to give that away to, I guess I didn't even think about how I was going to give it away. Let's do something funny, first person to guess my favorite color. So in the comments, first person, whoever I see the right comment, guess your age is 44. Thanks, Steve. I'm not there yet. But anybody who gets my favorite color first, then we'll send that out to you guys. But one of the cool things about these different products is just how, Ray was talking before, don't put your ice plastics away. Don't put, a lot of your ice stuff away. Some of these jigs are perfect. They transition right on over. Even this lure wallet, again, this is something that we talk all the time, fits right in your bib pocket. But we also find that it fits perfect in the pocket of a tackle box or something like that. Hey, I did see it finally pop up. Do you know which one it is? Yeah, you can click it. Ray, you're right. It is, okay, it's yellow. I appreciate the really awesome guesses, though. Some great colors thrown in there. It just is random that Crappie Junction is is yellow and black. But when we came up with the logo, it was just convenient that way. And pink and purple and all those other colors are fabulous too. But I find especially for fishing, chartreuse is one of my go-to colors. So falls in the yellow family. And so there you go.
Yeah.
So Ray, we will connect after the show and we'll get your address and everything and we'll send it out to you. Just a cute little kit of things that I like to use in the boat. Ice season, transition it all the way through. I'm looking forward to using those coming up again.
Yeah. Yep. I am working diligently on getting all of our boxes stocked back up with more jigs and getting everything organized so we are ready to go for the panfish season.
One of the things that's made it pretty easy though, transitioning this year, is we did actually switch to our liquid cases. And so one of the cool things is just being able to take, the case from our winter box, and then in some cases just transition it right on into that summer case, because those boxes do just translate like that. I guess in some cases, the Magnum Top Shelf, that's what I use for summer. That's a bigger box than my season one, but a lot of those cases do just still translate that easily. So it's been a pretty easy swap this year.
Yeah, I mean, I really do like both of the Magnum cases, the Mini Mag and the Top Shelf. I don't think I will ever find a case for pan fishing better than the Magnum Top Shelf. I've gone through so many tackle boxes. And
why do you say that?
Well, just because. So one of my big pet peeves, especially with pan fishing tackle, is that all of the plastic boxes with the little inserts are made for big baits. And you can tell because there's gaps in all the corners and underneath those inserts. And so all of the panfish baits slide underneath and hook on each other. And then you can't get anything out. And then you get angry. And so with the Magnum Top Shelf, it's stacked vertically like drawers.
Can you pull up a picture of it? Is that possible?
I can. I don't think it brings out the effect.
It doesn't bring out the effect. Well, we'll see what happens.
People have to come fish with us, and then I can show them.
That is true. But like you're saying, the cases, you don't have to turn them. And so as soon as you organize everything and then you got to shove it into a box, that's always annoying. But in this case, you just slide it right on in. And like I'm saying, it's easy to swap out. So I'm over here watching what Josh does. And
you always do.
I know. I
and
always
then
do
and then
that.
we lose all of our viewers.
So
then we both stop talking.
But here you got it pulled up, so you guys will be able to see. Ray, you're saying you'd love to fish with us? We're on the water every weekend. Hit us up.
Yeah.
The hardest part is just getting to be in the same location as everybody. But this is exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's more like what mine looks like.
Yep. So, I mean, it's all stacked in there. You can fit 7 boxes in there. And the
6.
top, there's 6. Yep, you're right. I can't count. But the top has a really cool tray. And so it's towards the end of the summer that kind of turns into a junk drawer. But during you clean it out at the beginning of the season, and it's very, very useful. And it's at a great height for when you are sitting on your boat seat. It's almost like having a portable table. So you can close the lid. It's flat, it's sturdy, and you can set stuff on it without it like flying all over the place. And I don't know. I just love this thing. This is my favorite thing ever. And then you can get inserts.
Well, it comes even with the foam that
Yep.
you can do exactly this. But like Josh was saying, if you want it to be like that junk drawer top shelf, that's what I use it for too. I take out the foam. So
Yep.
that's like really cool. The picture, lovely, great. I wish it looked like that. I use it different.
But no, that's the thing is like look at that.
Oh, yeah. That's funny. That is me and my tackle box, just like what we're talking about.
There you
That's
go.
funny. Then you can go and watch that if you're interested. I'll walk you right through it.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I like it.
You have the gray, I have the black. But that's the nice thing is that you can choose even the green there.
Yeah.
A lot of different options.
Okay. Anyway. Enough about tackle boxes.
But it is a huge piece of what we are doing, going into this open water season, because that's the thing is, sometimes we are out, especially on the river, and then you find like, oh, today, bluegills want this or crappies want that. And it's, when you have all of your things that are organized in a way that you can get to it and use it and like not just put off switching your equipment because it's like too hard or annoying to do that, that is one of the things that sets you up to be a successful angler.
Yeah. So. Well, so I'm kind of at a loss because normally at this point in the week I'm sitting here strategizing. I'm looking at the weather, and I'm taking the weather into account where we're gonna fish. But this week I'm not doing that because we're traveling to Minnesota and we're watching baseball at Target Field. So I'm like
the hardest thing about being an angler is the weekends that you can't go fishing.
Yeah. So Honestly, right now, I am prepping for some trolling, for some walleye trolling. So I'm putting new treble hooks on the crankbaits. Um, one fun little tip that our buddy Brian Claremont, BAC Guide Service, kind of gave us is swapping the front hooks out on your crankbaits for a red treble. So I'm
That's like a
currently in the
secret. I was gonna say a secret. Don't tell anyone.
I'm currently in the middle of doing that on some of my crankbaits. I painted some. I painted some crankbaits.
But actually that's a really interesting point. One time, I think it's not quite a garage sale, but we found online like a guy who was selling lures, and
Yeah.
it is a lot like a garage sale. And so I think a lot of times people can identify with that this time of the season that's happening coming up here with the nicer weather.
Hmm.
But the thing about that though is, when you find a good deal on tackle and baits and things like that, because we did like a lot of the crankbaits and the colors and the styles that people are looking for, like found to make great deals. And the baits themselves held up actually really, really well. But just a plug for, you're talking about switching out hooks. So when you are buying old tackle, that is really the thing to be looking at, is kind of that metal hardware on there. Because if you're looking at jigs and stuff, make sure those eyelets are good enough that they're strong and they're not gonna like just bust up on you. But otherwise, those hooks, they are important to make sure, look at how rusty they are, because I don't know, but either way, ours didn't look so bad. But we ended up going fishing, and we had a few hooks break on us. And to be honest, that just wasn't really something that I expected to happen. I haven't had it happen on that many other fishing trips, but
Mm-mm.
in that particular instance, we had it happen multiple times that evening. And all I can really think of is that it was partially due to those hooks being old.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm, going through and switching that out. I think that also kind of made me think a little bit about panfish stuff too, because we you take the panfish stuff for granted. You just have a whole tray of hooks and you pick a hook out and you throw it on and do go about your business. But those can, we run into some bigger fish once in a while. Like we, as a collective anglers, you're out fishing panfish, and every once in a while you get a pike or muskie or catfish or something on there. And it sucks when all of a sudden you feel the ding, and then you reel it up and there's just a jig head there, like the hook part is gone, and it's like, oh. And sometimes it's not preventable, but sometimes it is. And so I've just been going through, and one thing I kind of we kind of discussed, it's a little bit of an investment, but we we grabbed up a couple of Fishmore boxes, and I think that helps protect our hooks a little bit better. It keeps them from bouncing around in there, because it's just slotted. It's like a giant version of like an ice jig box is basically what it is, and it fits in the Magnum top shelf. And yeah, I guess if you fish lots of jigs and stuff, and you are serious about that, I definitely give those guys a check out the Fishmore boxes, Fishmore Company. I think it just has helped keep the quality of the hooks up. So
That's true. Plus, it displays them out really nice to see them. And sometimes that just helps you kind of think about what you're choosing as you're out there on the boat. But, as you're talking about all of these things, I don't know what made me think of this. So I'm kind of switching tracks a little bit. But
Mhm.
the other thing that I am really getting excited for is kind of trolling for panfish.
Mhm.
You talked about how, a lot of times we just don't target the fish when they're spawning and they're up that shallow and all of those things like that. And kind of being responsible with the ecosystem. But that's the thing. I think a lot of times people do fish that time of the season because it's easy to know where the fish are at. And I guess that sounds kind of stupid, because sometimes those fish are so shallow that you can't miss them. But that is the thing, is there are so many anglers out there that don't get to spend that much time on the water, especially throughout the year. And so keeping track of them can become very difficult. In that spring is always kind of that reset point. Again, that ice is melted, we're on to a new season. It feels like a reset point anyways, but partially again, because you have that visual cue of where those fish are.
Mhm.
Now, one of the things though is if you're not the type of person that's fishing that spawn, what happens to those fish after that? Because, again, they are so easy to see in those shallows, but then as soon as they move out into the deeper water, even just sometimes even just a few feet, 2 feet, it's like amazing how good fish are at camouflaging. I mean, I guess that's the point of it, but people lose sight of them. People start having a hard time. And one of the things that we see all the time on our home waters is people will, start out by casting bobbers shallow, shallow, shallow. And whether they have success or not, there are people who never transition away from that as the summer settles in. Now, the thing that made me think about that this year is because I have a hunch, and I hope that I'm wrong, but I have a hunch that it's going to be like winter, 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 summer, like the season is just going to be the onset. And I know that we had plenty of spring, the snow melted, it did warm up, all of that. But as far as temperatures, it feels like it's been pretty cold, and I think a warm up is impending. So, as a panfish angler, I think that spawn is going to happen kind of fast, to be honest, because once that water starts warming up, and it's going to hit those temps, and fish are going to do their thing, and then it's going to keep warming up, and they're going to keep moving out. Yeah, Ray is saying 80s there next week. Yeah, here too. That's crazy. Like, I feel like we didn't even have a plain 60-degree day. I mean, no, I know that we did, but just not as many as I expected. So, as all these fish are going to be moving in and maybe moving back out quickly, that's one of the ways that we do keep track of them is the trolling.
Yeah, and even though the water temps have not been very favorable for fishing in general, unless you're a walleye angler, then it's been fantastic. But as far as pan fishing goes, they've been sitting out in deeper water, and they've been still kind of just hanging out, doing their post winter thing, and but the weeds have been growing. That ice has been coming off the waters. The light's been able to penetrate, and even though it's cold, those weeds have been growing. And so when you do have that warm up and the fish, the early fish get up and spawn and they start to come back out, they're going to start hitting the defined weed edge, and that's going to set up pretty early this year, I think. And it's not a secret anymore. Trolling for panfish, it's a tactic that's been out there for a while, but it just isn't heavily utilized. Um, Here in Wisconsin, there's a few areas that you're not supposed to be trolling, so check that if you're in Wisconsin. But most of the areas you can, and most of the time, a single line, just straight line trolling with a jig and a twister is going to get you a lot of fish, and um, it'll keep you busy. Not only in catching fish, but in learning your lake, changing the scenery. So you're not just anchored up staring at the same shoreline the whole time. And it just and the fish hit it really hard when you're trolling, because they're just like coming out, and then they were planning on swimming back in, but then you reel them in. And you don't have to go very fast. It's like 0.7 to 1 mile an hour. So it doesn't feel like you're moving all that much. So even if somebody wanted to cast around, we do that a lot too, is you troll around your one bait, and somebody casts forward of the boat as you're trolling towards it, or cast around the boat while you're moving, and just to see what technique is more successful. Another thing that does is you can pinpoint where, because there isn't going to be just one school of fish in a lake unless it's a super small pond. And so you'll come around, and you might hit one on the north side, and then you come around, and then there's one on the southeast side, and so then you're like, you can mark that on your GPSs, and then you can go back and you can cast in those areas and still be successful. Or you can just keep trolling, and then when you come up to that mark, oh, I'm probably gonna get a bite. Normally, it is. And that's my preferred technique, because you don't wear schools out that way. You pull three, four, if you're fishing with two people, pull 3 or 4 out of that school. You take your picture, or you put them in your box, and then you keep trolling. And when you come back, there's still going to be a few fish there.
Well, and I think it's a perfect answer for a few other situations too. So, number one, the person who does not have something like live scope. There's all this concern these days about like directional radar and finding fish and knowing 3,000 feet on both sides of the boat or whatever you can do these days. But there's just the fact of the matter is most people on the water don't have that technology. I know it feels right now if you're on any of the fishing forums like everybody else in the world has that, but it's not true. It's not true.
Promise.
Yeah. And so if you do have a graph, that just is kind of telling, kind of what's going on a lot more localized, that movement does really help you, like Josh is saying, kind of learn the patterns of the fish. Because that other thing that is happening is even if you do have a live kind of graphing system, then those fish are still moving around. And although you can still find them with that directional system, we're starting to hear more and more that people are convinced that the fish are catching on to, if it's the sound of the graph or the radar and they're running from it or whatever that is, and so if you can also be that moving target and like Josh is saying, go through that school, but not exhaust all the fish, that's something that's going to kind of help that fishing throughout the day.
Yeah, and I mean there's all kinds of stuff. You can get super deep into it, and when you go over certain spots and you start hitting schools, then you can start putting those puzzle pieces together, right? What are the similarities between that north spot and the southeast spot? Like why are there a school on each of those spots? Well, it might be a specific type of plant. Might be a specific type of
Point with depth
substrate,
that drops off,
right?
or
There's
yeah.
all kinds of stuff. And as you're trolling, you can put those puzzle pieces together and you hit more fish, and then you can be like, okay, well, let's try a little deeper. Let's try a little shallower. Let's try bigger bait. Let's try a smaller bait, and just kind of play around with it because you know what works and you know where the fish are. That's two huge puzzle pieces. So now you just kind of piece it together. So then the next time you go out, you can start where what was really working that you had dialed in the last time, and all you might have to do is go from white to chartreuse, or white to black, just depending on the light. So then it really takes a lot of that guesswork out of it when you can keep those little mental notes. Pictures on your phone are a great way to keep track of it annually. You can just search the date in Google Photos, and it'll show you the pictures, and you just look for the one weekend. If you're weekend fish anglers like we are, you can look for the closest weekend and see, okay, I have a good habit of taking a picture of my graph every time we go out. So then I have the water temp and the day, and then I can put those remember, okay, here's what I was doing. And yeah, it's not super hard. It just takes a little bit of organizing all the pieces so you can put them together.
Well, and I think with that, if this is a tactic that you don't normally do, it takes a little bit of trial and error or confidence building or something like that because, everybody always does best when they are in their comfort zone. And so if trolling panfish is something that you haven't done yet, or even drifting,
Hmm.
kind of similar, especially on windy days, if you can find that right drift pattern, those are things that'll really, really pull in the fish. But you kind of have to get used to doing it.
Yeah, I mean, drifting is a great way to reach those deep bluegills. When you're fishing the basin bluegills and stuff that are in that 17 feet of water out on mud flats and stuff during the summer, and you only see two or three fish, and they're gonna be big. You can drift over them. You can drift over it and use something like a drop shot and just drag it like a Lindy rig, and those fish love that. You can try if it's a nice day. You can anchor up and you can pitch and drop on top of them and do a little vertical jigging or do whatever. But there's all kinds of really cool tactics that are used for predatory fish that work if you scale it down and you use it for panfish. So you were saying earlier, everybody's got like floats on the brain right now, and you anchor up in the weeds and you're throwing your floats in between the reeds and stuff, or maybe you're taking a long rod and you're just dipping by all the bulrushes and stuff. Floats, it's something we were talking about with one of our guests a couple episodes ago, and I think we touched on the fact that there's like all kinds of different floats, right? You have like peg floats, you have slip bobbers, you have the clip bobbers. There's all different types of shapes, and we touched on the importance of looking at different species for different ways to utilize floats. And I think it deserves going and talking about some of the floats that we use. So what's your favorite one?
Mostly the rocket bobber, to be honest, or otherwise there is like this tiny little bobber that we learned about from Ryan Slummy of Ice Junkies. And actually we found like a few different sizes that we ended up liking from that same person. But where do you get those? Do you order is that like
that's an eBay that's
eBay.
An eBay special. And I'll let you find that yourself. I'm not gonna post that because they are handmade. They're balsa floats.
And they sell out a lot of times. So
yeah, and if you're handy, it's definitely something you can order a piece of balsa on Amazon, eBay, balsa dowel, and chuck it up to your drill with just like with a screw. Just put a wood screw in the end, chuck it up to your drill, and you can just like shape it with sandpaper. It's balsa wood. It's like styrofoam. And then just paint it, and there you go. Balsa float.
And there you go. I've never done that. You talk about it like you do it. We don't do that.
Well,
but you could. You totally could. Yeah. But I mean, other than that, I mean, that's the thing is I have like 10,000 kinds of bobbers in my tackle box, but I just honestly mostly use those same ones. And we find that we don't break up all that often. So a lot of times what you put on there just kind of stays.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do like to switch it up. And so the beginning of the season, something that I think has kind of fell by the wayside a lot of times, or in recent history, is the porcupine float, the porcupine quill float. And they're made from African porcupine quills, and they're, everybody's seen them. They're kind of brown and white, and they're about 8 inches long, and they kind of look like a reed. It's a very, very sensitive float. And I really think that one excels this time of year just because the fish are, just like bass or anything else, they're just trying to protect their nest. So they're like grabbing it and spitting it out. And so if you are using the bobbers, you can get that. So it's just the tip is poking out. And then anything that like breeze on it will pull it down. The other advantage is it keeps it in the area a lot longer, especially on windy days, because it's like a thin diameter float. And so it doesn't get pushed by the wind a whole lot. Unlike, like a round bobber has a lot of surface area that'll get pushed. But that's something early season that I think is worth taking a check at. Also, don't overlook those cigar floats. That's a lot of the guys that catch a lot of big fish use the cigar peg floats. They're super cheap. You can get like 6 of them for $1 or something. They're just styrofoam, but they land on the water super soft, and so you use a longer rod to get that leverage to get a bait out, and it just lands on the water and doesn't make a huge splash. And I think that does have a really good effect.
That is for sure. Mm-hmm. It does have me thinking about the destinations that we're going to fish coming up this year. And we have some time for some local home waters, but then actually early spring here, we're even going up to the Chippewa flowage.
Yeah. End of June, 3rd week in June, we'll be up at the Chippewa flowage at the Treeland Resort. We stayed there last year. It was fabulous. Had a great time. Fishing was tough. It was kind of a weird spring. The water warmed up a whole bunch. We were ready for spring fishing. We were doing some we kind of brought what we were doing here up there, and that was not working very well. And so we had to call in some reinforcements. Thank you, Mr. Kevin Clancy. He gave us a few tips and spots to try, and we ended up getting them dialed in the last half of the week. But yeah, that should be a fun trip again. Looking forward to it. You got some musky baits to throw this year.
That is actually a really good point. We did get some musky baits this past year. I still got to get a case for them to transport them because that's otherwise kind of crazy. So I'll be looking into that. But yeah, I guess to be honest, of all the fishing we've ever done, we always do. I have never caught a muskie.
Me either.
So crazy.
Surprising. We've seen them. We even have them on camera. Never caught one.
Yeah, on the Aquaview.
They don't like us.
Well, they like crappies. We're just always after the crappies.
Yeah. Well, I would have thought that we would have had one that tried to eat one of our crappies on our way up, but
no. You never know.
No,
you never know. You just never know. But I think we've spent enough time at the Chippewa Flowage casting around and fishing around and all of that honestly, I've seen a few people that have hooked up with muskies. So I think I feel like I have a little bit of a leg up because I have some spots that I feel like I can go and cast around at, or I feel like I know what I'm at least looking for. Because, it's a fish 10,000 casts, but if I can do it in 1,000, I'd be way happier.
Oh, here you go.
Oh, drift a sucker behind the boat while casting. Oh, that's actually a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
We have enough rods we can throw one out for that.
Yeah, I think so.
Then we have to get suckers, though, or catch them.
Yeah, might have to
go
catch
to the river
some
first or something. Oh my gosh. Other than that, though, what trips are we taking this year?
Oh, well, I think we're gonna try and sneak in a trip down to Swisher, Iowa, before we head to the Chippewa Flowage.
Chad, if you've got muskies in your lake, we're coming to visit you.
I think. If any of you know what's in Swisher, Iowa, you'll know why we're going. But we are heading down that way to go fish with some friends down there. So that should be a fun trip. A little bit of Mississippi fishing, maybe a lake or two. We get to see a shop. I like a good shop.
I've never been there, and I've always really wanted to. So I am really looking forward to seeing those guys down there.
Yeah. So we are in the process of getting that set up. So that should be a fun trip. I don't know. We'll probably head up to the Menominee River a few more times this year.
Go to Mille Lacs and fish the smallies.
Yeah, might have to make another fall trip over there. Yeah, but otherwise, I think it's mostly just doing some fishing around here. We'll see. We might be we're still on the hunt for a new house by
so
Wausau.
We'll see if our home water's saved. Yeah.
And we'll see if we have to learn new bodies of water. But yeah, I don't know. Not super exciting. But if you guys are in our area this summer, let us know, because we are fishing every weekend pretty much.
That's true. And I guess with that, if you've sat with us this entire time, this whole show, and listened to us like babble on, yeah, we do appreciate it. But we kind of started the show with like a little giveaway, kind of, I guess, in honor of all of you and the kindness that you shared and wishing me a happy birthday. So I said that we have a few things to give out tonight, and we did have one kind of Widowmaker kit that went out to Ray. So that's exciting. We'll get that over. But a few other things that I use all the time is the Lakewood products. Oh, Eric, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Come make a trip our way and fish with us. And then you can check out the Lakewood products that we talked tonight because they're sitting around our boat and all of that. But I do have a few other things here. So one of them is actually a net protector It's kind of a crazy thing to show you without the net on it.
Oh, I got it pulled up still, so let me
Yeah.
see if I can pull up accessories.
And while you do that, I'll show you the other thing that I'll send you with it is just the exact same koozie that I use. Like if you've ever seen me walking around everywhere, anywhere, this sometimes has a black lid on it, or this one, but I carry around coffee like it is my job. And this koozie like never leaves it. So I guess just in honor of one of my favorite products, we will include that. And just honestly, we're going to choose at random anybody who commented during this entire show tonight. And we're probably going to let it go for the week, and then we'll announce it on next week's show. But, anybody who comments here, and it could be on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube, and we will count that. But if you make a comment here, then you are entered. And if you win, then we'll announce that next week. And we will send you out this nice little Lakewood prize pack with that nut protector and my favorite. Well, I call it a coffee mug, but you can put
it's
everything else
a
that
bottle
you want
koozie.
in here. Yeah, for bottles. Yeah, all kinds of cool stuff. So that will be awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, make sure you stop over at the YouTube and like and subscribe that channel. Just helps out. We put our fishing report up there every week, or we try to, and just kind of give out some tips. And
that's a really great point, because a lot of times we try to take that fishing report and we put it onto Facebook and the other social media platforms. But if you want a sneak peek at what we were doing, it actually posts there to YouTube before we post it to Facebook. So if you are looking for that extra information earlier, check that out there and put those alerts on, because then it'll notify you when it's posted, and you can be one of the first to be there.
Yep. And there's also a bunch of fishing reports like ours, but there's fishing reports from all over the state of Wisconsin, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, Michigan, out on the Outdoor News website. They have a really cool fishing website for all of that. I know Ryan Salimani participates in that. And we have a bunch of other cool people around the state of Wisconsin that help get some fishing reports out. So if you don't see them on the social media, check them out over at the Outdoor News page.
For sure. And with that, I'm not sure. Actually, we're talking about our fishing report. Yeah. This coming weekend, we won't have one. So that's going to be this is a terrible time.
Terrible segue.
Terrible time to be pitching this to you. Yeah. But, sometimes you never know what we come across. We keep our rods in the car, and it's Minnesota opener there. So I don't actually expect that we're going to hit water, but you never know. And if anything happens, then you guys will be the first to know. And otherwise, you guys bring your fishing reports and all of that to next week, because we love talking about that and looking at the trends as everyone is, talking about their fishing conditions throughout the country and wherever you guys are watching from. But otherwise, that's all we got for tonight.
That's all we got. Unless you guys have some last minute questions.
But just remember, comment on this post wherever you're watching from. That will make you eligible for this little Lakewood prize pack. And I might even find something else to sneak into that prize pack in the time. So we'll see how this week goes. But otherwise, looking forward to seeing you guys on next week's edition of The Night Bite.
Night, everybody.